Today's Ask Reddit post. What's a good sign someone was raised right? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. They admit when they are wrong. I think a good way to help people admit when they are wrong is to keep the argument civil and respectful. Exactly. It's much easier to admit you are wrong when the other side is not being a dick. From the other perspective, the one in wrong is more likely to admit being wrong if you are polite and respectful. Cleaning up after themselves in public place like movie theaters. To add on to this, not making a mess in public places in the first place. Going to the movies? You got some popcorn, a box of candy, and a drink? Cool. Popcorn and candy go in your mouth. Not on the floor, the seat next to you, or 3 rows ahead of you. The drink goes in the cup holder built into the seat. You lift, drink, place it back in the cup holder. No mess. Of course. Accidents happen and the toddler sitting in the seat next to you unexpectedly knocking over your popcorn, or the lady with the oversized purse who had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the movie bumping into your cup with her bag and spilling it are bound to happen eventually. But generally speaking, if you don't make a mess to begin with, you won't have to clean up after yourself any more than taking your empty bucket and cup to the trash can on your way out. When they wait for you to get in the house/building before they leave. I love Uber drivers that do this. One knew I was coming from the hospital in bad shape and he helped me upstairs. He got a nice tip. I was working at a grocery store gas station in Arizona during the height of the pandemic. One summer night, a customer came in and pointed out an elderly man sitting in a wheelchair near the back of the building. Long story short, it is obvious that he was dumped there. He was far away from the assisted living facility where he was staying, had no idea where he was, and given the fact that it was 110 degrees, it was lucky that he was alive. That lady who alerted us to him, she stayed the entire time, helped figure out where he was from. He didn't speak much English, and even called her kids to say mom's not gonna be home for a while. She finally left after he'd been loaded into an ambulance and taken to the hospital almost 2 hours later. Whomever had dropped him off, worst of humanity. This woman, she was raised right. One time, I drunk dialed my ex, and I called the wrong number. It was this sweet old guy and we talked for an hour about how I shouldn't call my ex, and that I deserve better, and how I just need to go to sleep and rest. I have no clue who this man is, but I think about him often. He was a great human. This reminds me of the time I had misdialed my boyfriend's number, where I had sent him a text in a fit of rage that was awful, and instead it landed in the messages of some older man, who then talked to me for over an hour about his garden. This is how I got into gardening. And I have never sent a nasty text to anyone ever again. LMAO. Cleaning up after themselves. I work in public schools. This is always a good sign that someone at home is holding the child accountable. It's, unfortunately, pretty rare that a student will pick up trash they didn't make. But I always try to reward and model that behavior. Be careful how you model that behavior. The students are smart and may decide to let you pick up the trash since they see you doing it. Respecting boundaries. They are polite to minimum wage workers. I had this elderly man come into where I work a few weeks ago and scream at me until I was nearly crying and wished me harm as he left, all because I couldn't give him a refund on something as per store policy. His son came in a few days ago to apologize for his father's behavior. The mother did well in raising that absolute gentleman. It isn't necessarily the case that his mother raised him correctly. He just had a big heart. A lot of people brought up with terrible parents aim to not become anything like their parents. Being nice to servers. I went on a date once with what I thought was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She was absolutely awful to our waitress, to the point I thought the waitress was going to cry. My date was no longer attractive to me after that. I excused myself to go to the restroom and went to find the waitress. I apologized for the behavior of my date, gave the waitress $100, and walked out. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. Bless your soul. They fold the blankets or make the bed after sleeping over. Respectful of boundaries. I always hate making my own bed, but if I'm at someone else's house I make sure that bed looks like no one slept in it. So me, it helps me not getting caught. They are okay with giving someone else the spotlight, or get genuine happiness from someone they love being in the spotlight if the person they love wants it, of course. The ability to show empathy, respect, and kindness towards others, regardless of their background or circumstances. They are often polite, considerate, and willing to lend a helping hand when needed. They also exhibit strong moral values and integrity in their actions and decisions. One Christmas my brother overheard a mom on the bus explaining that Santa might not be able to bring a lot that year. My brother was tight with money, but as he was getting off the bus, he snuck the woman $100. He told my mom when he got home, and my mother was a happy wreck. She was so proud of him that Christmas. Good manners, consideration for others. They listen as much as they speak, even when encountering a differing point of view. Being respectful to servers, counter help, and other similar workers. Not littering, politeness to service workers, and civic knowledge. Civic knowledge. Going back home for covered at 30 years old taught me how not ingrained that is, yet so important and subtle. Nothing on their phone is ever played out loud in a public space. Man, it's so crazy that anyone would even consider doing this. The other morning I was at a somewhat busy but quiet donut shop when this kid came in asking about a DoorDash order that apparently wasn't ready yet. He sat down and started going through TikTok videos at full volume. Just poop scrolling through the worst music and dumbest dialogue I'd ever heard, turned up to 11. The social awareness this dude was lacking astonished everyone in the building. Back in the tribal days this would have gotten him sacrificed, I'm sure. DoorDash people are some of the worst offenders. I was eating dinner with my wife at a Thai restaurant several months ago, and TWO DoorDash people were in there playing poop out loud on their phones. So annoying. They put the shopping carts back. The amount of people I've seen just leave their cart as right next to their car as they pull away. But it gives the employees something to do. /s. When a person you don't know willingly comes up to you when you're crying and tells you that everything will be okay and lets you talk. After my father died, I was sick with diabetes. Just didn't know it yet. I would cry at the drop of a hat. I used to sing that song "Oh My Papa" to my father. I was sitting in an optometry office and that song of all songs came on. I burst into tears. An older man asked me what was wrong, and he just held me for a few minutes. I hope his pillow is always cool. Their kind and charitable acts don't need to be publicized or acknowledged. My grandfather used to say that the right hand shouldn't know what the left hand was doing. When he passed away, people came out of the woodwork to pay their respects and tell stories about how he and my grandmother helped them when they were in a tight spot. They were active in their church community, but even folks that I had no idea that they knew and had interacted with. I want to be respected like that when it's my time to join the choir invisible. Hey, you're not so bad, nasty_Ned. Nothing. Sometimes the best people are good people, not because their parents raised them that way, but because they use their parents as an example of how not to act. Very true. In a meeting, some of my kids' middle school teachers told me that he thanks them as he exits class each day. That made me proud, even though I'm not the one who directly taught him that. As a middle school teacher, that's such a little highlight of my day. There are a couple kids who consistently do it when class is done, and it's so nice. Your kid is one of the good ones. They give respect to people they both know and don't know, rather demanding everyone learn that common decency from them. When they can win a game and lose a game both without turning into a ducking asshole. I'll brag. My son was a waiter at a popular spot. A tourist paid with cash, left no tip. My son noticed the bill was stuck with another of the same value. Like when they come out of the ATM, so it was obviously not a tip. He went out and ran after the man to give him the money back. His coworkers asked why he didn't keep it. He said simply, "It wasn't mine." Love that kid. He's definitely going to have good things come his way. We get back what we put into the world. Good job raising a good egg. They are not griefing other players on GTA V Online. Super wholesome response is not congruent with username. They don't talk during the show at the movies or at plays. They stand up to shake hands. They admit when they are wrong. The men in my family always stand when a woman enters the room. Not necessarily like when our mom is constantly walking in and out, but when someone initially walks in. Often. They'll also stand when a female preteen or teenager walks in. Circumstances dictate. Sisters and brothers attended white glove classes where we were all taught etiquette. Our parents made sure it stuck. Saying please and thank you instead of okay and good like all French people do. That's because in French we say s'il te plaît and merci. /s. Lies. You French worm. They are always polite to waiters and staff. Specifically in men. Someone who acts like the designated dad of every situation. Making sure everyone's alright and settled. Makes things less stressful and more enjoyable so no one else has to worry but him. Either means they were raised very right, or that they were raised by very flighty parents, and they had to raise themselves. They default to kindness. Especially a dude who can cook. It erases at least 4 red flags. Having a clean house/apartment is also a massive green flag. Oops, I can cook, but I'm not much a housekeeper. Fortunately she married me anyway. If they wait to keep the door open so other people can pass. Restaurants, gas stations, stores. Let me tell you that in my city the majority of the people don't do this, or even say thank you. My son's vice principal called to tell me he was the first boy to hold the door for her in 13 years at that school. My mind was blown. You raised him right. Thank you. Throwing away their fast food rubbish at a hopping center food court. I have distanced myself from someone because they said that's the cleaner's job. No, the cleaner's job is to wipe the tables down. It's not a sit-in restaurant. Throw your damn rubbish out. When they don't talk badly about someone's physical appearance. What if it's the roast me sub and it's just all in good fun? That's fine. Context matters. They make quick eye contact with you and just give you a nice quick smile and move on. Those are always nice interactions with nice people. I don't think you can tell how nice someone is by a 1-second smile lol. I'm sure Ted Bundy smiled at people he passed by, but he seemed like a nice guy, didn't he? When they are at your house for dinner and they offer to help with the dishes. Doesn't treat animals like poop. Confidence and accountability. Fill the tank when they borrow a car. They make their kids clean up all the toys they get out when they come to my house. If they give you a ride somewhere and when dropping you off watch to make sure you get in the door they were raised right. A year after my mom died, in a moment of despair, I texted her a long message about how much I missed her and how sorry I was that we struggled to see eye to eye in her last months. I was distraught and wasn't thinking clearly. It didn't occur to me that her number may have been recycled. The new owner of her phone number texted me back and said something like, "Hey, you've got the wrong number. But I'm so sorry you've lost your mom. I'm sure she loved you and is watching over you. I lost it. Good humans exist." When they genuinely give a poop about other people. Even in small ways like stacking their plates on a table at a restaurant or bringing their cart back at a grocery store. Just the small things they do that show they're thinking of another person. There's probably hundreds of examples. I'd say it especially shows when they just do these types of things without really thinking about it or acknowledging it. It just shows it was part of what they did their whole life. I'm a high school teacher. When it comes to getting kids into pairs of groups, there's always a bit of awkward tension. There's always a few kids who don't have any friends, and then I have to put them in a group and risk a negative reaction, which makes everyone uncomfortable. When students notice, without me saying anything, who the kids are without friends and immediately go over and ask to be their partner or invite to join their group, they don't expect something in return. They're respectful to those with language barriers. They offer to help clean up after meals or at parties, even if it's not necessary. Offering to help with tasks as a guest at someone's house. A friend of my wife consistently offers to help prepare food and clean after I cook dinner. Fabulous dude with excellent parents. How they treat animals and people who are vulnerable. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.